What would you think if I told you the very part of you that you're most ashamed of? The rage you hide, the envy you disown, the desire you suppress, may hold the secret to your life's deepest meaning. In the modern world, we chase light while fleeing from darkness. We craft identities from curated smiles, spiritual cliches, and polished goals. But beneath the surface, the soul rots quietly, yearning for wholeness, not perfection. Carl Jung knew this. He saw that the human psyche was not made to be clean. It was made to be complete. The shadow is not evil. It is exiled. It is the forgotten twin of your persona, the public mask you've worn so long you forgot it was a mask. And it waits. In dreams, in triggers, in projections. It waits in the partner you resent, in the jealousy you deny, in the weakness you mock in others. The shadow is the unchosen self, the side of you left in the basement while your ego feasts at the table. But here's the paradox. What you repress begins to possess. What you deny in yourself, you chase in others. That's why you're drawn to the dangerous. Why you love people who hurt you. Why your relationships mirror back the pain you refuse to name. You are haunted not by ghosts, but by your own unlived truth. Look closer at your anger. That sharp heat. Beneath it, what do you find? Wounded boundaries. Betrayed innocence. A forgotten voice screaming to be heard. And your sadness, that quiet ache you think is weakness, that's not weakness. That is longing. That is your soul's way of begging you to come home. Jung believed that the purpose of life is not to be good. It is to be whole. That includes everything. Your rage, your lust, your cowardice, your cruelty. Not to indulge them, but to integrate them. To sit across from the shadow and say, I see you. You belong. Have you noticed how often people shame what they secretly envy? The man who calls women manipulative is often terrified of his own vulnerability. The woman who mocks feminine softness is often at war with her own heart. Projection is the shadow's favorite game. You don't just meet people, you meet your unconscious in disguise. That's why relationships are the crucible of individuation. The lover who awakens your deepest wounds is not your enemy. They are your mirror. Your task is not to find someone who completes you. It is to confront the parts of you you've exiled, through them. He who cannot see his own darkness will spend a lifetime blaming others for the pain he created in himself. She who fears her own power will unconsciously choose lovers who dominate, control, diminish, until the lesson burns through her denial and she remembers. She was never weak. She was only scared of how much she truly was. Shadow work is not a trend. It is an initiation, and it hurts. It drags you through the shame you've avoided for years. It brings you face to face with the child you abandoned inside yourself. It rips away the mask you thought was you and shows you something far more primal, far more raw. But once you look, truly look, you begin to see the gold within the darkness. Jung called it the golden shadow. Hidden in your shame is your gift. Your jealousy contains your desire for more. Your fear holds your longing for expansion. Your hate, that reveals what you once loved but were too hurt to keep loving. Your shadow doesn't make you bad. It makes you honest. And this is the path to purpose. Not in finding a role or a title, but in becoming whole. Because your purpose is not something outside of you. It is who you become when nothing within you is exiled. When you stop pretending. When your mask cracks, and something deeper, something ancient, begins to rise. The soul does not want to be liked. It wants to be known. You were not born to be palatable. You were born to be powerful. But that power cannot emerge until you face what you fear most in yourself. So ask yourself, quietly, what do I judge in others that I secretly suppress in me? Where do I feel most reactive, most triggered, most ashamed? That is where your shadow lives. And within it, your purpose waits, cloaked in darkness, but burning with the light of your forgotten truth. Shadows grow in silence. Not in the silence of peace, but the silence of denial, the kind that wraps itself around the soul like a fog. You feel it when you sit alone, scrolling, smiling, performing. You feel it when someone touches your wound and you erupt, not because they hurt you, but because they revealed the part of you that is not yet healed. The shadow is not a monster. It is a memory. The memory of every time you were told to shrink, to stop crying, to be a good girl, to be strong, quiet, clean, nice. It is the accumulation of unlived emotions, unspoken truths, unwanted needs. What you abandoned to survive now returns to claim your attention. Carl Jung warned. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And so it does. Again and again. The same patterns, the same heartbreak, the same betrayal wearing a different name. But you are not cursed. You are being called. Called to dive into the hidden layers of the psyche, to reclaim what you buried, to stop asking for permission to exist. The journey inward is not for the faint. It's not self-help. It's self-confrontation. And it begins with the courage to look at your reactions. Why did that comment sting? Why do you seek validation from those who withhold it? Why do you chase people who cannot see you? The shadow answers these questions, not in words, but in symbols, dreams, and impulses. Jung saw dreams as messages from the unconscious, coded in archetypes. The monster chasing you is not random. It is the power you repress. The ex you cannot forget, they carry the qualities you disown. This is why the shadow shows up in attraction. It seduces you toward your missing pieces. You may think you're falling in love, but often you're falling into projection. You do not love them. You love who you are in their presence. You love the parts of you they allow to come alive. The sensuality, the power, the madness, the abandon. And when they leave, it's not just them you miss, it's you. The you that only emerged in their reflection. Jung called this process anima and animus projection, the feminine in man, the masculine in woman. These inner archetypes, unconscious and powerful, shape our desires, our attractions, our heartbreaks. When we meet someone who activates them, we feel fated. But it is not fate. It is inner alchemy externalized. If a woman has not met her own animus, she will find herself drawn to men who embody strength, intellect, dominance, until one day she realizes these traits were dormant inside her all along. He was not her missing half. He was her forgotten self, reflected. And if a man has not made peace with his anima, he will chase women who carry beauty, chaos, tenderness, and then resent them for making him feel. But she is not his salvation. She is his mirror. This is how the shadow teaches. Not gently, not politely, but through rupture, chaos, pain. Through falling apart and not knowing who you are anymore. And in that unmaking, you begin to glimpse the truth. You were never broken. You were only divided. The work is not to fix yourself. It is to remember yourself. To gather the pieces. To call back the voice you silenced. To forgive the version of you that begged for love in the wrong places. Not because she was weak, but because she was wise. She knew, even then, what she needed. The ancient Stoics knew this as well. Seneca said, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." Much of our suffering does not come from life, but from our resistance to what life reveals within us. The ego resists the shadow because it fears dissolution. But you're not the ego. You're the one who watches, the soul beneath the rolls. And the soul is not afraid of darkness. It was born from it. So stop fearing the parts of you that feel too much, want too much, hurt too much. Those are not flaws. Those are thresholds. If you walk through them, not around them, you'll find something holy. Your purpose is not out there. It is buried within the places you refuse to go. Go there. You were taught to be good, to be kind, to smile when it hurt, to say it's okay when your boundaries were violated, to call it love when it was really self-abandonment. The world rewards compliance with praise, not authenticity. But your shadow doesn't care about praise. It cares about truth. And truth is messy, unapologetic, wild. It's the scream behind your silence, the hunger behind your politeness, the fire behind your numbness. The more you try to bury it, the more it grows, louder, sharper, darker, until one day it erupts. Not because you are broken, but because you can no longer betray yourself and call it peace. Carl Jung understood this eruption. He knew the psyche does not simply heal, it demands integration. That is the soul's real work. To face not just the trauma, but your own role in keeping it alive. To own not just the pain, but the patterns, the masks, the illusions you crafted to survive. The shadow will show you all of this, not to punish you, but to free you. To show you that every time you said yes when you meant no, a small part of you died. Every time you chose safety over truth, you fed the mask. Every time you blamed another for your emptiness, you delayed your return to wholeness. But here's the grace. The moment you see it, you're no longer bound by it. The moment you say, "This was mine," the illusion shatters. Not all at once. It's not clean. It's 1,000 small deaths. The death of a nice girl, the people pleaser, the seductress, the savior, the martyr. You grieve them because they kept you alive, but you release them because they are not who you came here to be. You came to be whole, and wholeness requires rebellion, not against others, but against your false self. You must betray who the world told you to be so you can remember who you were before the world touched you. That wild, strange, sovereign child who knew how to feel, how to rage, how to play, how to say no without apology and yes without fear. The path back to her is not paved with affirmations and pretty journals. It is paved with grief, with shaking hands, with nights spent staring into your own abyss, with facing the people you hurt when you were hurting, with admitting the lies you told to be loved. And yet, there is such beauty in this, because every confrontation with your shadow is also a reunion with your soul. You begin to realize that you were never too much. You were just too honest for a world that profits off your silence. You were never crazy. Your intuition was just louder than your conditioning. You were never unworthy. You just internalized the wounds of people who never learned how to love. And now, you unlearn. You peel back the layers of protection and find that what you thought was darkness is actually power. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that frees. The kind that can sit with grief without needing to escape. The kind that can hold rage without needing to destroy. The kind that can be fully seen, fully known, and still choose to stay. The Stoics spoke of this too. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Your shadow is not in the way, it is the way. The wound is not a detour from your purpose, it is the very doorway to it. So you stop running. You sit in the fire. You name what you feel. You stop calling your sadness weakness. You stop calling your anger irrational. You stop gaslighting your own soul in the name of being nice. And something begins to shift. You speak more slowly now because your words matter. You walk more deliberately because your presence is a force. You choose more carefully because not everyone is meant to walk beside a woman who has faced herself and did not look away. This is the quiet confidence of integration, the kind that no longer needs to prove, the kind that no longer fears rejection, because you have already accepted the parts of you that others could not. The world may not understand this version of you. Let it misunderstand. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become whole. And then, one day, the mirror changes. Where once you saw your fears reflected in others, now you see your strength. Where you once attracted chaos, now you meet stillness. Where love once felt like chasing, now it feels like recognition. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Because you no longer need others to carry what you have reclaimed. This is the silent miracle of shadow integration. Your outer world rearranges when your inner world is no longer at war with itself. Carl Jung called it individuation, the lifelong process of becoming who you truly are. Not what your parents wanted, not what your partner idealized, not what society celebrated, but you in your fullness, your contradictions, your wildness, your tenderness. It is not perfection that makes you magnetic. It is your wholeness. You begin to notice how much energy you spent hiding. Hiding your sensuality so you wouldn't be judged. Hiding your anger so you wouldn't be called dramatic. Hiding your sadness so you wouldn't seem weak. And now, freed from the need to be palatable, you radiate truth. And that truth repels the false. The manipulators lose access. The narcissists retreat. The people who once thrived off your confusion find no entry point anymore. You're no longer their supply, because you are no longer fragmented. The cracks they used to crawl through have been sealed by your own fierce presence. Jung warned of the danger of repressing the shadow. He said that when we do not face it, we risk becoming possessed by it. The person who cannot express anger becomes passive-aggressive. The one who cannot admit envy becomes bitter. The one who denies desire becomes addicted. The repressed shadow leaks, not because it wants to destroy you, but because it refuses to be ignored. But once integrated, the shadow becomes your ally. Your anger becomes boundary. Your envy becomes inspiration. Your fear becomes intuition. Your desire becomes direction. The traits you once disowned are not defects. They are tools, misplaced. The angry woman is not broken. She is discerning. The jealous woman is not petty. She is deeply yearning. The sad woman is not weak. She is deeply alive. Can you feel the shift? You no longer pathologize your emotions. You honor them. You don't suppress your instincts. You trust them. You don't second-guess your voice. You own it. This is not arrogance. It is sovereignty. And it is what the world most fears in a woman who has faced her shadow and survived. Because she cannot be controlled. Because she no longer performs. Because she chooses. There's a stillness now in your bones. A sacred quiet inside your chest. Not the quiet of suppression, but the quiet of clarity. You are no longer scrambling to be chosen. You are choosing who enters, who stays, who sees the real you and meets you there, not as a savior, not as a fantasy, but as an equal, walking his own path toward wholeness. You see, relationships were never meant to complete you. They were meant to reflect your inner terrain. When you were fragmented, you attracted mirrors of your wounding. But now, having reclaimed the shadow, you attract mirrors of your strength. He who meets you now must be strong enough to hold his own darkness. She who walks beside you now must be whole enough not to need your light to shine. The era of codependency dies in the light of integration. Because when two whole beings meet, love becomes a choice, not a transaction. The Stoic Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This is what shadow work offers. Not just healing, but freedom. The freedom to be seen, to be known, to be complex, contradictory, and still complete. No longer defined by who hurt you. No longer shaped by the need to be liked. No longer driven by the fear of being alone. Because aloneness now is not emptiness. It is sacred space. You trust yourself, and that changes everything. You know when to walk away. You know when to lean in. You know what your body is telling you. You know what your dreams are whispering. You know that pain is not punishment. It is instruction. And so, when the shadow rises again, and it will, you do not flinch. You do not run. You bow your head and say, "Welcome. What do you have for me now?" Because the journey does not end. It deepens. The shadow never disappears. It evolves with you. Each new threshold of your life, each love, each loss, each rebirth, summons another layer, another forgotten fragment calling to be held, seen, honored. But the difference now is you are no longer afraid of it. What once felt like breakdown now feels like breakthrough. What once shattered you now refines you. The triggers, the discomfort, the mirrors that once burned your skin, now, they guide you. Because you've become someone who understands that pain is not the enemy. Discomfort is not danger. They are portals, invitations, alchemical flames that transmute fear into truth. You no longer react. You respond. You no longer chase. You magnetize. You no longer collapse. You choose. Carl Jung taught that the shadow, once faced, becomes a fountain of vitality. It returns to you the power that was scattered in trauma, in shame, in silence. This is not metaphor. It is real. You feel it in your posture, your tone, your gaze, in how you walk into a room, in how you say no with peace, in how you say yes with full body truth. You do not explain yourself anymore. And this disturbs people. Because a woman who owns herself, who holds her darkness like a weapon and her light like a flame, cannot be manipulated. She cannot be molded into someone else's fantasy. She cannot be used to complete another person's emptiness, because she is no longer running from her own. You see, most people do not want to meet you. They want to meet their projection of you. The nice girl, the healer, the safe harbor, the fantasy, the one who will never trigger them, never outgrow them, never demand truth. But that is no longer you. You have become a mirror they cannot control. Some will flee. Let them. Others will rise. Welcome them. Because now, you are not lonely. You are aligned. You are not empty. You are embodied. You are not waiting to be saved. You are sovereign. And this is where purpose emerges, not as a job title, not as a brand, not as a role to play, but as a frequency, a way of being. Purpose is not a thing you do. It is the truth of who you are, made conscious. And your shadow was always the map. What you feared was the gate. What you rejected was the guide. What you silenced was the song. Now, you carry it all, as one, as whole, not ashamed, not fragmented, but integrated. And this wholeness becomes your compass. You walk toward what is real. You speak only what is true. You love from the root, not the wound. Because you finally understand, you are not here to fix your past. You are here to redeem it. You are not here to relive your trauma. You are here to alchemize it. You are not here to earn your worth. You are here to remember it. You are never too much. You are always exactly as deep, as vast, as powerful as your soul needed to be to carry this wisdom. And now, there is nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase. Only this, your breath, your body, your voice, your knowing. The purpose of your life is not out there waiting. It has been buried inside the parts of you were told to hide. The rage, the grief, the desire, the softness, the knowing. And now, you rise, not in rebellion, but in remembrance. You rise as the woman who owns her shadow, walks with her truth, and no longer fears the fire, because she is the fire. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.